News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. One of the many celebrations going on over the weekend is the annual Lewiston 4th of July activities that actually kick off tonight with an early evening rodeo that will also be held Saturday night. And on KBNU's For the People program this past Tuesday, Lewiston City Council member Brooke Heyer said a whole day of events will take place on Monday the 4th.
We've tried to plan a whole day full of events, so if you're coming from out of town, you can stay all the way through to fireworks in the evening.
The morning starts with a cannon salute, flag ceremony, and pancake breakfast beginning at 6 a.m. at the City Park Pavilion. The Patriot Border Run at 7 a.m. The famous parade, 9:15 a.m. on Monday with Grand Marshals Willard Soup and Elaine Jessup. Another flag ceremony with a patriotic speaker, Russ Madsen, at 11:30. And something that historically has been part of the rodeo has been moved to an earlier time slot all by itself. The Cowboy Boot Races that will be held at noon.
So we've got this Cowboy Boot Race, and just to make sure that, those who maybe hadn't been to the rodeo before wanted to make sure that they understood it's got to be done in cowboy boots. So
that's right.
We felt it was probably good to spell that out so that everybody comes with proper footwear.
Later that evening, it's the Wells-Jackson Memorial Horse Pulls at 6:30 p.m. The night wraps up with the big fireworks show launched from the rodeo grounds at dusk. For more information, please visit lewiston-ut.org. Also on Facebook, look for the Lewiston 4th of July celebration. KBNU News Time is 4:07. KBNU weather for tonight. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this evening. Partly cloudy skies. Overnight low in the mid-50s. North winds 10 to 20 miles an hour early this evening. Sunny, lower 90s. Southwest winds 10 to 20 miles an hour in the afternoon on Saturday. Sunny and around 90 on Sunday with those southwest winds still with us this afternoon. We have been to 90 degrees. Right now, it is 89 at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Contact their Cache Valley team to protect what's yours at northernsteelbuilding.com. Value from concept to construction. Call 435-677-7300.
We live in a great country. We live in a great valley with a lot to be thankful for. U&I Furniture wants to take a minute and say thank you for being such good neighbors and friends and customers. U&I features many brand names, including many American-made chairs by Southern Motion, Best, Franklin & Lane, Speed Queen appliances, and therapeutic mattresses, Legend brand TV consoles and entertainment centers. Find these American-made brand furniture products at the place where there's always a better buy, U&I Furniture, downtown Logan.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. For the first time in weeks, a death due to COVID-19 reported in the Bear River Health District. That was included in the State Health Department's normal Thursday update. Among the 19 coronavirus deaths the last 7 days was a Cache County woman between 65 and 84 years of age. There were 10 deaths across the state the previous week. Utah's death toll over 27 months of the pandemic is 4,834. Cases increased from last week to this week by just over 7,400, and since the start of the pandemic, there have been 982,895 positive cases in Utah. Checking the latest numbers from the Cache, Box Elder, and Rich County area show that there have been 248 coronavirus deaths and over 53,000 positive cases in the Bear River Health District since the outbreak started March of 2020. There were 228 new cases in the district since last week, and now 67% of the northern Utah population 5 and older have received at least one dose of a vaccine. And for the second time in 3 days, a visitor to Yellowstone National Park has been gored by a bison. Park officials say a 71-year-old woman from Westchester, Pennsylvania, and her daughter inadvertently approached the bison on Wednesday as they were returning to their vehicle at a Yellowstone Lake trailhead. The woman's injuries were not life-threatening. She was taken by ambulance to a hospital in Cody, Wyoming. The incident remains under investigation. On Monday, a 34-year-old Colorado man got too close to a bison and was thrown as he grabbed a child. An Ohio woman was gored in May. Park officials say bison are wild and unpredictable, and visitors should stay more than 25 yards away. KBNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Breaking news. Stimulating talk is what we do. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Hello, I'm Jerry Stewart. Independence Day is one of my favorite American holidays. Why? The food, the fun, the fireworks. I also love the great stories of our America, with the courage, the determination, the sacrifice. Please join me here on this station for my special Independence Day program, This Great Invention America. Please join me.
Beginning at 9:30, before and after the fireworks, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday nights on News Talk KVNU.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work.
Sorry, I'm late.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVN News for the People. Friday afternoon, July 1st. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter.
Summer is flying by.
That's right. As you heard, Bill Walter in the studio as well. June. I don't know what happened to June. I've still got...
I don't know what happened to May.
Well, I'm behind this year. I have a, with the garden and the yard, I have a schedule that's kind of determined by the weather, and just the timing of those storms through the monsoon season of June, things got put off. So here I am on the first weekend in July, and I've still got June and end of May stuff to do in the yard. So going to be pretty busy this weekend. When the relatives get here on Monday, I don't want them to think I've been slacking as they drive by, so...
So you're just going to have relatives drive by? They're not going to actually stop?
Well, they head to the other location.
Other relatives.
Yeah,
okay.
Other relatives. But
they go there first.
I don't want them to think that I've been, just kicking my feet up. Although I plan to do some of that a little bit tonight. This is one of my favorite times of year to sit outside. It stays light, beyond 10 o'clock, at least for a few more, a week or two.
And that was...
and
I hate to be one of those people that keeps talking about my vacation and showing slides.
When we were in the Hamptons.
But when I
Last
was in
weekend at
Montana,
Martha's Vineyard.
that was so strange. Up in northwest Montana, at 10:30, there's still twilight going on, and it's like you
Sure.
look at my phone. Is it really 10:30? It's got to be earlier and it does something to you psychologically. You don't even really feel tired.
Yeah,
or at least I didn't.
They have, they have issues with that in the when the inverse happens in the wintertime.
Yeah, when it gets dark at 4,
they get like 4 hours of daylight, and there are issues with suicide rates going up and things like that. I know Nordic countries deal with that. When I was in Iceland, it was just weird. I had a hard time sleeping for the first few days there.
Yeah.
Just because.
Well, and you went in August?
Was
it August you went? Or?
Well, and it would stay light until midnight one night. It was still, like just dusk here.
It does something weird to you mentally. It's
it messes up your internal.
You feel
clock.
like you suddenly feel like a little kid, like you're 8 years old, and you're being sent to bed at 8 p.m. while everybody else is still having fun.
Sure, this is. I don't know. It's It can really mess with your schedule, and what happens to me this time of year, I stay busy until bedtime, and so I'll look at the clock suddenly and think, oh wow, I've got an early day, I better get to bed, but I'm still out there with the garden shovel in my hand. But it's fun. It's one of my favorite times of year for that reason alone, and just an excuse to be outside. It does look to the north. I don't know if you saw that, Bill. Something coming in, something big. The north of us, the skies are pretty black, and that cloud body is.
Well, it could be our 20% chance. That's moving in on us.
It's coming. It's to the south, of course, just partly cloudy and beautiful sunshine. But yeah, whatever that is headed our way from the north is pretty big. So it was really weird to see this. There was a hailstorm warning last week in Park City. I don't know if you caught that. You were in Montana, so you probably missed it. But
we just had rain up there.
It was a really localized storm, but temperatures had dipped quite a bit ahead of this storm, and it just kind of swept through the Salt Lake Valley and into Park City and Heber City and then dissipated. But it was it brought cool enough temperatures ahead of it that, and the winds were high. They were actually telling people to seek shelter because the hail, the size of the hail that was being projected, and the winds that could propel it at dangerous speeds.
Which, if you're from the Midwest, it's like, psh, that's nothing.
That's right.
Wait until you have grapefruit-sized hail. Then you have to worry.
Yeah, it's you heard during the break there, we didn't plan this, actually. Bill and I hadn't communicated. Didn't know what I was going to.
We never know what we're going to
lead.
I never know what you're going to do. You never know what I'm going to say.
Surprise! I like to put Bill on the spot.
The spontaneity of it all.
Start the show with a question and answer with Bill. No, we've got the movie show coming up, and Andy last week talked a little bit about his two favorite films so far, still playing here in Cache Valley, both of them, Elvis and Top Gun 2. Top Gun Maverick. I finally got a chance to see Top Gun Maverick. I'll be honest with you, Tom Cruise irritates the living out of me. He just, I don't know what it is. There's something.
So if he ever gets punched by somebody in a movie, you're going like, yeah.
I don't even shed a tear. Or if I saw it in real life, he'd probably deserve it. No, I shouldn't say that. He seems like a nice guy, but a little odd, but who isn't? He just, I don't know. It's his characters, demand. He's playing these characters that are supposed to be cocky. I get it. The Mission Impossible films, for example, it's he's a super spy, so of course he's going to be like James Bond cocky. But there's something about the way he does it that just irritates me. So I was one of the 5 people on the planet that wasn't a huge fan of the original Top Gun. I don't know. I was young when I saw it. Young enough, I'll date it here. We saw it at a drive-in when there were more than one of those in Utah, and I think the one announced its closing, the one in Riverdale. So sadly, there won't be any. But I just didn't. It didn't appeal to me, and so. But I really liked Top Gun 2. Top Gun Maverick. It's worth seeing, definitely. I haven't seen Elvis, but Andy puts those two as his two favorite films of the year. His least favorite so far has been, it's now actually on Disney Plus. It's already streaming, but it's left theaters, at least throughout Utah. But Doctor Strange and the blah, blah, blah multiverse. Andy, that was his least favorite of the year. I actually tried watching some of that last night just to feel it out, because I knew we were going to be talking a little bit about this today. It's horrible. I was bored. The first Marvel movie I've ever watched that I really could care less if I finish. I probably will, because they're all interconnected, so you have to know the ongoing broad story to see the next films as they come out. But so I'll probably finish it, but not great.
It just was not compelling, I guess.
So coming up on the movie show, we're going to be running through the summer movie season so far, the year so far, summer movie season, and, of course, looking ahead at the summer movie season to come. There's still quite a bit of summer movie season left, 2 months at least, and a lot planned for that, too. Some of the big films coming out, but it's another year where the things getting the most attention are actually on the streaming services, not in theaters, and I'm not sure really what that means, so we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about The Black Phone. This is a horror movie in theaters here in Logan. Andy and I have both seen it. I'll hold my thoughts till Andy's here. It's based on a short story written by Joe Hill, Stephen King's kid, one of Stephen King's kids, and he's a good writer. Kind of like a more edgy version of his dad, a little more in your face, less gory and violent than Stephen King's stuff, but a little more boundary pushing, I guess you'd say, as a writer. And this film kind of follows track with that. But that's that and The Rise of Gru are the only two new movies in Cache Valley this weekend. We'll talk about them both in hour 2. Coming up, though, on the other side, I'd already planned to talk about this, and then I heard during the break there after the news PSA on, I don't remember what the PSA was actually for, but they're talking about, lingo, jargon, code words even that kids will use online. And I'd planned to talk about this. Now, a lot of these I can't go into detail here on air at risk of offending people, but something really interesting is happening online. But it does have child psychologists, behaviorologists, and parental coaches concerned a little bit. They're hearing from parents more and more, I have no idea what my kid's talking about. I've been told, follow your kid on social media. Even go so far as to have your kids' passwords on social media. And I highly recommend that. As somebody who works professionally in a world where sometimes, I wade into, online safety circles, usually for businesses or nonprofits, it does also come up that, what individual employees do can put a company's network at risk. And so we do some training on that sometimes. And I used to do training for individuals, for families, for parents. And I still recommend it to this day. Have the passwords. If you ever go to, and some parents disagree. Some parents say, look, you have to leave them with some dignity and some privacy. And I agree with that too. So you shouldn't ever, I don't think, demand a password with a vindictive threat, but have a conversation in which you explain why you need to have the passwords for your child's social media accounts so that you can log in and see what they're doing. If that is a little bit too far for you, which I understand, I think it might have been for my parents as well. They wouldn't have ever demanded that much, but follow them. And if you ever find out that you have been blocked or removed as a friend or whatever, something is up, period. It might just be that they don't want you to see them acting foolishly online, but it could be something far more serious as well. So that's, I think, a given when it comes to social media and keeping your kids online. I'm not a big fan of complete restriction. I think that can actually go towards making especially a teenager feel ostracized and left out in a way that can breed some real resentment. You have to remember, this is how teens are interacting now. TikTok, Snap, Instagram, probably the biggest. Not big Facebook users. Twitter is, kind of a meh, I think, for them. They use it more than Facebook, but It's not one of the more popular. So most things are TikTok, Snap, and Instagram these days for the, say, 20 and under crowd. And they've invented their own language. I'm not kidding. And how they're using this language is absolutely fascinating to me. But it also comes with some pretty significant risks. So we'll talk about that. A great article at bark.us. This is an online trivia site, basically, titled, "What the blank is my kid even talking about online?" And then why, as a parent, you should want to know. Right after this.
Wow, your cars look so shiny.
Thanks. I've been taking them to Green Gorilla Car Wash. Thanks to their new ceramic application, my cars have never had such a glossy shine.
Sounds expensive.
You haven't heard about their sale? Right now, their Jungle membership with ceramic coating is half off for every vehicle. Instead of $30 per month, I'm only paying $14.99 from now until September.
That's such a great price.
I know, and my half-price membership is good at both Green Gorilla locations in the Valley.
I better head to Green Gorilla now.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
July 4th has come and gone, but we will be handling your hangovers on Tuesday as we put all the fighting back into taking over our country. We move closer and closer to midterms. We'll update you on the latest there. Plus, Buck.
We're going to be looking at the economy. Is it in a comeback or a slowdown? That's coming up on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Talk a little bit about how to figure out what your kids are even talking about online. This isn't, again, to set this up, this isn't meant to, scare anyone or have you rushing out to force your kids to cancel all their social media platform accounts. And in fact, I wouldn't recommend that. This is how teens especially are communicating these days, and the effects of cutting them off, for some kids could be worse than what the risks are of them using social media. But, along the lines of always having access to your kids, 10 years ago, it was Facebook. That was the big, anything you looked at as far as, parents' guides to keeping your kids safe online. It was, make sure you are their Facebook friend. And if you find out that they've limited what you can see, or have unfriended you or blocked you on Twitter or Instagram or Snap or TikTok.
Yeah, that'd be a little bit of a red flag, I would think.
It's a sign. And sometimes it's a sign of something really innocent, teenagers not wanting their parents to see them acting a fool. They've got a crush on somebody and maybe they're doing things online, that are innocent and very teenager things to do, but they don't want their parents seeing that stuff. But it could also be something far more sinister. It could involve someone far more sinister because, predators do stay on top of this stuff. And that's, I think, one of the biggest risks out there is that when it comes to what we're about to talk about, the predators know. They spend the time to study and figure it out. And it can be very problematic, so to say the least. But call it what you want, slang, lingo. I call it code. Because especially when it comes to TikTok, and I'll be honest up front. To me, this is fascinating. It's there's always been online lingo, memes especially, but slang that in fact, it's led to entire websites dedicated to. There's something called the Urban Dictionary, which is dedicated entirely to translating current slang, especially online, and what it means. So some of the examples that I can give you, one that is fascinating to me, and I actually think is very healthy, even if it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Kids on TikTok, teens especially, use an example of the code I'm talking about. And on TikTok, it'll usually be a word or a phrase combined with a certain song. One example that I first learned about was there's a song called Sweater Weather, and that was a way that teens in the LGBTQ community would come out to their friends when they weren't ready to come out to their parents yet. And that's when I first learned of how TikTok was being used to communicate with their friends groups in a way that, every kid keeps secrets from their parents, right? No big surprise there. To me, it was kind of fascinating that they'd come up with this way to communicate with their friends groups, but not the adults were oblivious. Jeffrey Bezos, that's a TikTok trend that is usually, so it's usually combined with either there's a bit that comedian Bo Burnham does called The Funny Feeling, and there's a song he sings along with it, and it has nothing to do with depression at all, the song. I don't know how this one came to be. I have no idea of the origins of this on TikTok, but references to Jeff Bezos, sorry. I think Bezos is funny, and so it's just stuck with me. Jeffrey. You have to say his name outright. Jeffrey Bezos, and the track, the music from comedian Bo Burnham's that Funny Feeling skit, combined together is a way that an individual on TikTok would tell their friend group, "I'm depressed. I'm having a bad day," or maybe even further, I'm having dark thoughts. I'm having suicidal thoughts. And then people will reach out to them and help and talk. And I think that's very healthy for kids to be able to communicate in this way. There are some other examples that, again, I can't read on air. There's one that's just funny. The word, I don't know if you've heard this, Bill. It's cheugy. It's spelled Cheugy. But you remember... 10 years ago, it was basic. It was kind of an insult. It meant that you were, kind of cookie cutter, you were probably an adult, not in the cool teen group. You were getting a little older. You were kind of stylish, but you're also just kind of trendy, and you're sort of out of the loop and clueless. And yet here you are trying to tell me how to live my life. And so people would say, so-and-so's so basic. That was
not a compliment.
Not a compliment, yeah. Or, in the 90s, I don't know if anybody remembers this in the 90s, such a weird thing for an insult, but the word was mainstream. It was an insult. If you called someone mainstream, it meant they'd sold out, they were an adult who was working at a bank in finance, and they had no clue what you were going through as a teenager. And so it became sort of this insult. Boomer is one recently, too, that's come up. To refer to people that are
of a certain
out of touch and of a certain age group. Yeah. But now it's cheugy, and I have no idea where this comes from whatsoever. I don't know the etymology of the word, but it's CH.
So if somebody calls you cheugy or refers to you as cheugy, it's not good.
It's a reference to an older person, usually a parent or a some sort of authority figure, who, and to call them cheugy is to say they're out of touch, but also to imply they're kind of trying too hard. Leave me alone. The kids are fine. Leave us alone. It's kind of that sort of a thing.
Kind of like helicopter parenting or something like that.
That's one that's kind of weird to me is bestie. And this obviously,
I hate that term.
Well, it can mean best friend, obviously, but it's become a term for... It's a formal address to a stranger on social media. So it's kind of a joke on, like when in older generations, someone would walk up to you and squeeze your shoulders and go, "Hey, buddy," and then the response for the Gen X crowd was, "I'm not your buddy,"
Exactly.
It's basically that. They've taken the word bestie, which is has always meant best friend, and they've used it they've turned it into a formal address, but it's an ironic formal address. It's somebody you've never met before, and you say, "Hey, bestie." So it's kind of cracking it. It's the buddy of today. There are a lot of these, though. I've posted a link to these on the Facebook page, our Facebook page, for listeners to see. But it's important to kind of understand this. There's also, physical codes that they'll do in a TikTok, a debit card or a credit card, and they're tapping it on the desk. That's code for, it means shut up and take my money. That's the literal translation of doing that in a TikTok. But depending on how they're using it, it can also be a flag for parents, if something that their child maybe is curious about or has gotten into that might not be something parents want them getting into. And you'll see it used a lot that way, even though I'm not talking about a situation where an actual transaction could take place. Tapping a credit card on the desk is letting all of your, quote, friends group, your followers on TikTok know, I'm really into this. I would let them take my money. And that can be useful for parents to understand these types of things. There are very innocent ones, vibe check. That's it's probably just the easiest way to understand that is like if you shouted to a group, "How is everybody doing today?" But the kids these days will say vibe check. There's also
so you just like yell it out in a group, vibe check.
Yeah, they'll put a TikTok up and it just says hashtag vibe check at the bottom, and that's code for everybody else to respond or reply with a separate TikTok, respond in the comments, or reply with they call it stitch it with a separate TikTok, and let them know how your day is going. But yeah, there are also this one I think is just kind of funny. And this literally, as I understand it, comes from people got sick of typing out LGBTQ, and so now they type leg booty, which, if you think about it, LGBTQ, they just say leg booty, and that's what they're talking about. They're just saying the word as it might sound if you actually just
because the letters
spoke those letters
don't roll off.
Yeah,
super easy.
Yeah, that's it's really, there are some more alarming trends and codes that parents would definitely want to know about. I think one that has gotten a lot of attention already, and I don't know the origins of this, but accountant, the way the word accountant is being used on TikTok. I'm not going to explain it on air again because some might be offended, but if you'd like to look it up, I've linked to the article on our Facebook page, but let me put it this way. Accountant has become code for a person who engages in a line of work in which money is exchanged for things that parents might not want to. It could be selling drugs, but it could also be doing some other things online that don't involve drugs. I'll just put it that way. So that's an example of some of the darker ones that are on there. Most of them are just funny and things you'd expect from kids in general. One of my favorites is, he's on X game mode. And that is a way of someone saying, when someone else does something that they post thinking everybody's going to be super impressed, that's a way of saying, meh, not that impressive. But what they say is, you're on X game mode. And that one cracks me up. If you play the games, you know what. But also what's interesting about this, and something for parents to keep an eye on, TikTok especially, TikTok slang evolves quickly. So everything that I've just told you about will not be the thing the kids are doing on TikTok a few months from now. They'll have dropped it. In fact, I started out mentioning the song Sweater Weather, and what it was is they would, in the TikTok, they'd be pulling up their socks. Well, Sweater Weather, the song, played in the background. It was a popular song a few years ago from some band in L.A., but and that was code for something, and they don't do that anymore. It's something else now, and that was very popular just last winter. So it's real. It evolves quickly, but they've invented their own language, and it's unique mainly to TikTok, but it's now kind of spreading out into Snap and even on Instagram. Instagram, it's more using certain hashtags than anything else. Snap and TikTok, where they're video based, short videos, they can do certain hand motions. There's one, listeners can't see this, but it's you take two fingers, like you can do the peace sign, flip them, and then they just tap them on the veins in their elbow. And that basically means ice in my veins. That means you didn't bother me. I'm cool. Everything's fine. It's a good day. Don't worry about me. My life. If someone puts a TikTok, all their friends are like, "Oh, you okay?" Then you'll see them do something like that to say, "No, I was just being a smart aleck. I'm fine."
Means you're thick-skinned.
Yeah,
not thin-skinned.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But it evolved from it's basically from a song, and ice in my veins was the line in the song, and then they would just tap two fingers on the vein in their elbow. To me it's really intriguing watching this and watching how it evolves too. But for parents, it's probably something to get to know a little bit, to understand, even if you don't keep up. Obviously I don't think most parents would be interested in it. I do it because I have a professional reason to know how social media is being used. But for parents, just understand that, I guess, that, when it comes to TikTok and Snap, especially video-based communicating, they've come up with a code. The code is always evolving. It's mostly innocent and exactly what you'd expect teenagers to be doing. And honestly, some of it is hilarious. I'm proud of the kids for this. Some of it a bit darker, and something that could be cause for concern. So knowing at least a little bit of the lingo could be helpful for parents, making sure their kids are okay. Check it out. I've linked to it on our Facebook page, how to know what your kid is even talking about on social media. And we'll be back right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:42, and the news is brought to you by Roof Rescue. Lots of communities in Cache Valley and surrounding areas holding their own 4th of July celebrations, and some have been passed down for generations. Lewiston has an Independence Day celebration that begins with a rodeo tonight and Saturday night at 7, and then the big day is on Monday in Lewiston. Hiram City will have a youth parade and water fight with the fire department tomorrow as part of their activities. The annual patriotic program will be held on Sunday. On July 4th, the Blacksmith Fork Freedom Run begins at 7. The Chuck Wagon Breakfast also begins at 7. And then the parade in Hiram begins at 10 a.m. Fireworks will start around 10 p.m. Monday night in Hiram. Garden City having their celebration Saturday beginning at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow night and until about 10:30. The fireworks show will begin at 10 p.m. Brigham City, Paris, Idaho, Malad also having celebrations. Logan City is holding their free fireworks show tomorrow night at 10. That's at in Willow Park shortly after the cruise-in has wrapped up. The husband of the Bluffdale mayor was charged Thursday with multiple counts of assault, harassment, and stalking for allegedly threatening a political opponent who ran against his wife in the 2021 mayoral election. Jason Hall now faces one count of threatening elected officials, one count of stalking, and one count of threats to influence official or public action. Hall is the husband to Natalie Hall, who holds the office of mayor for the city of Bluffdale. According to the Attorney General's office, Jason Hall threatened opponent Jeff Gaston multiple times and in multiple ways between March and December of 2021. The AG's office explained in a press release that Hall threatened Gaston physically at a Bluffdale City Park, also verbal threats in person through anonymous delivery of gag gifts, demeaning and intimidating messages to his home and workplace, assault, obtaining or disseminating information to family and co-workers. And the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District is asking all of its customers to cut their water use by at least 10%. That's both indoor and outdoor use. The district, which provides water for a majority of the Salt Lake Valley, said the cuts are to stretch the water supply a little further. The Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District is one of Utah's largest water suppliers. The cuts mirror those imposed by the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District, which provides water to people farther north. KVNU News Time is 4:45.
Remember when you were a kid and used to help your dad out with projects? He would say,
"My roof, my rules."
You grew up, bought your own roof, and made your own rules. Then your roof started leaking. But that's okay because your dad said he would help you fix it.
Oh, watch out.
It was a great father-son bonding experience right up until you realized you were in over your heads and the roof didn't get fixed.
Don't risk your safety and your home's protection from the elements. Contact Roof Rescue's certified professionals at roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU weather for tonight, slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this evening, low in the mid-50s. North winds 10 to 20 miles an hour this evening. Sunny, lower 90s tomorrow with southwest winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. On Sunday, southwest winds still with us around 90 degrees. And then Monday, the 4th, sunny upper 80s for the high, but we will have those southwest winds 10 to 20 miles an hour in the afternoon. This afternoon, we do have some storms to our north right along the Utah-Idaho state border that will be affecting parts of Cache County and definitely Franklin County over the next little while. 90 has been our high. It's 88 right now. KVNU weather brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Contact their Cache Valley team to protect what's yours at northernsteelbuilding.com. Value from concept to construction. Call 435-677-7300. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Cheryl, bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of Jeff Olson and Edward Jones. Stocks rise to finish the week. Equities headed into the long weekend on an up note, logging a gain on Friday after closing out the weakest first half to a year in more than a half century. It was a fairly quiet day on the data calendar and in the headlines, with the broader focus remaining on inflation and its impact on economic activity. Both will be on display over the holiday weekend, with travel expected to be strong, pitting still healthy consumer demand against rising prices for services. Stocks received some help from the release of the June ISM manufacturing report, which, despite indicating a moderation in factory activity, revealed some encouraging improvement in supply chain bottlenecks as well as prices paid. U.S. equities closed higher today. The Dow closed up 322 points at 31,097. The NASDAQ closed up 99 points at 11,128. And the S&P 500 closed up 40 points at 3,825. In stocks of local interest, Nucor closed up 1.23 to 105.64. Thermo Fisher closed up 4.99 at 548.27. Wells Fargo closed up 0.75 to 39.92. Walmart closed up 1.05 to 122.63. Chevron closed up 1.73 to 146.51. Autoleap closed up 1.12 to 72.69. Northrop Grumman closed up 7.80 to 486.37. Amazon closed up 3.35 to 109.56. This has been today's financial market report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and Jeff Olson, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 580 North Main in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact our branch office at 435-787-8170. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology is Cache Valley's most trusted name in hearing aid technology. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Paul Danes by calling 753-HEAR or visit cachehearing.com.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Adams Wealth Advisors is the gold winner for financial planning in the Best of Northern Utah competition. Thank you for your vote. Putting clients first under any circumstance will bring peace of mind when working with Adams Wealth Advisors.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit adamswealthadvisors.com or call 752-1702 to schedule a time with an advisor today. Please see adamswealthadvisors.com for more information on these recent awards.
Your 401k is likely one of your most important assets, but it's only one part of a comprehensive retirement strategy. Edward Jones can help you understand how your retirement assets fit into your entire retirement picture, so you work toward your unique retirement goals. Contact one of the 7 offices of Edward Jones in Cache Valley or go to edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Watching some of the, we don't have any exciting last-minute close races to keep track of here in northern Utah, but I'm watching some of the Salt Lake County and even Utah County races play out, and man, it was, I said on Wednesday after Tuesday's election day finished, after polls closed, and we saw some of the returns Tuesday night, I said on Wednesday's show it was definitely the year of the incumbent. Incumbents did very well against, and to be fair, most of the challengers were didn't have a lot of money, newcomers to politics, and oftentimes running on some pretty out there stuff. There were a lot of election, the big lie candidates, as they're called, people claiming the election was stolen, and it just didn't hit. Not enough registered Republicans bought what they were selling. So incumbents won, but I would be careful if I were an advisor to a legislator and they came to me and said, should I take this as is this a mandate? Do I have a public? No. I think what it was is that the other person was worse. I don't know that this is a thumbs up for the Utah legislature or for any individual lawmaker. It could be, but I don't know that that can be read into this. I think that what it means is that the other person didn't wow them, or even maybe sort of turned them away because of what they were selling. So I'd be careful to read too much into this as far as because the popularity of the legislature at large is at an all-time low due to, and we saw this play out in 2018 with a slew of very successful ballot initiatives. And I think the legislature instead decided to double down on, no, we're the smartest guys in the room. Stop asking questions. So I think we're just building back up to another phase of the public feeling they're not responsive and a bunch of ballot initiatives in a couple of years or 4 years. So that cycle kind of started over. So, I say this because a listener asked, does that mean that everybody's just happy with what the legislature's doing? I wouldn't read that into it. I would say that the year of the incumbents was more a reflection on what it was the challengers were all about. Because I don't think we like our incumbents, but I think when it comes to at the federal level, when it comes to the state legislature, Utahns have shown again and again they'll dump a state lawmaker at the drop of a hat if they have reason enough to do it. But that said, there are a few races as more and more ballots are counted. There are still right now the state elections office estimates, they don't have an exact count, but they estimate there are between statewide between 5 and 5,500 ballots that are waiting to be cured. And what that means is they got the ballot. It's a legitimate ballot. It was filled out correctly. It can be scanned, but there was something about the signature that didn't match, and that's usually what it is. And so what they do then, they have a couple of weeks before certification and they try to do this before Election Day if possible, but it's harder. So they usually start on Election Day, and they try to reach out to that registered voter at the address or phone number or email address provided in their registration and say, hey, we got your ballot. We can't count your ballot until we can verify your signature. And so then, you can come in and sign, and they can verify your signature. So there's the state elections office says there's about 5,000 to 5,500 ballots out there like that right now. There are also provisional ballots that were cast on Election Day that can't be counted. This was just boneheaded of about 1,600 voters statewide. That's the estimate, at least, from the state elections office. These were people who mailed their mail-in ballot and then went on Election Day and demanded a paper ballot, which their mail-in ballot already was. And so the only option in person to cast a paper ballot on Election Day is to request that your mail-in ballot be voided and you fill out a provisional ballot. 1,600 people refused to let their mail-in ballot be voided and also filled out a provisional ballot. And in the end, 1,600 people basically just wiped out their entire vote. They just as well have stayed home entirely. Don't do this, people. If you want to cast an in-person provisional ballot, don't mail your mail-in ballot back. Shred it. I wouldn't even recommend doing that because it's just a waste of your time and the clerk's time. Just mail it in or drop it in a drop box. But if you're all upset about mail-in voting, shred that one. Don't send it back in. And on Election Day, go cast a provisional ballot in person. That way you've only cast one vote and your ballots won't be tossed out entirely. So it's interesting to see how this is playing out. But there are 3 races now. One race, Representative Jeff Stenquist declared the winner on Tuesday, but his lead is now down to 51 votes. Yeah. In another race, an incumbent's lead shrunk from 300 to 210 today. And in one Salt Lake City race, one of the most liberal Senate districts in the state, the incumbent, Derek Kitchen, and challenger, Jennifer Plum, are within 10 votes. And they keep changing places as the leader in that as more and more ballots are counted and tabulated into the mix. So until certification, nothing's done until it's done, and that's next Thursday. So we'll see how this plays out. But there are quite a few races and some incumbents whose careers are still on the line. All right, the For the People movie show is next, and we'll be talking The Black Phone. Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, short story with this film hitting theaters alongside The Rise of Gru. Those are the 2 new films in theaters. And we'll be talking about it in hour 2 of today's show with Andy Morgan joining us for the For the People movie show right after this here on KVNU Logan.
news. Stay with 610 AM and 102.1 FM. Breaking news and stimulating talk. News Talk KVNU Logan.